Who's coming? Next question.
Yeah, fun fact for everybody here. I met Marwa at the last in-person conference before South Quad, which was 2019 Toronto Forum. So that was the
calm
last
before
decade.
the storm, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were some great times.
Very fun times. If you have the chance to be at an in-person conference, whether it's in the next few weeks or in the future, consider it. It's a lot of great experiences.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool tours coming out for Grassroots. The signups opened up yesterday or Thursday. So be sure to check your email if you registered for Grassroots to sign up for your tours, please. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can start. Okay, I'll be formal now, kind of. Hello, everyone. Welcome to How to FBD. This is one of two training sessions that the Freedom by Design Advisory Committee, FBDAC, is hosting. This is one. The second one will happen in person in Grassroots in Washington, called How to Service. If you or your chapter is looking for an NCARB grant to apply for one for your design build projects this year, you must have someone attend this session or the other one that's happening in 2 weeks from now to qualify. So what we're doing differently is the two sessions are different. This one will be more specific as to how to operate at peak performance for FBD, how to manage it, and go into all the details. The one that's happening in Grassroots is called How to Service. And we're collaborating with AIA Communities for Design to discuss in general the importance of public service, volunteerism, and how you can plan your professional career outside of graduation, after you graduate, I mean, in order to use the skills that you have in design, your passions for advocacy and activism, and serve your communities. So the other one will be super open, and we recommend anyone to come in. You don't have to be super involved with FBD. It's just a space for us to talk about how awesome it is to use design back into the community. So for this one, we'll start off with introducing ourselves. I'm Marwa. I am currently, and probably until the next few weeks, the chair for FBDAC. I am based in Toronto, and I graduated from Toronto Metropolitan University.
All right. I am Tristan Osorio. I'm a FBDAC committee member, and I'm also your West Quad director-elect. So I'll be getting sworn in as your West Quad director, if you're in the Best Quad, in a couple of weeks here in Grassroots. So that's me.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Tapia. I don't have a cool title like my other two people here, but I graduated from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas in the West Quad. So just to kind of break this off and start this out, what is FBD? So our mission is that we're a program within the AIAS that utilizes the skills and talents of architecture students in service to their community. AIAS FBD projects should better the community and promote skill building and foster relationships. And we basically want to embody students to become owners in a process that radically impact the lives of people in their communities through design, construction, and engagement-based solutions. And basically a brief history of how Freedom by Design came to be is it was pitched in 2003 to AIA, but established in 2004 by Brad Buchanan as a pilot program in the AIAS. It started out with 6 chapters that initially joined. And since then, it's been, a piece of history, FBD has continued to grow and expand across the world. We have programs everywhere from the Middle East to Latin American chapters within the AIS, and of course in the States and Canada as well. So we help more people in more places by addressing barriers with design solutions. So we ended up expanding the original scope of the FBD to incorporate more barriers and more solutions to make it more inclusive. There we go. And then that brings us to the present, which we had revamped FBD in 2021 and made the FBD scope in a newer perspective, in a more fluid perspective that shows a lot of the intertwining and interacting of each one of these barriers and possible solutions to them within the Freedom by Design arm. So basically, we broke this up into project types. Starts with service, which is kind of like small one-day projects or events rooted in volunteering and direct mutual aid. So examples, toy drives, food drives, workshops, volunteering, community cleanup days, and things that are open to everyone, not just the students within your chapter as well. And then we have design engagement, which is a little bit more community driven initiatives. May look kind of similar to design builds, but the end result does not need to be a physically built object. Some engagement examples that we have are like the weatherization kits, birdhouse design kits, space visualization and design services, which are really, really common in the design world in general. And then next we have design build. So this is your typical architecture design approach where you design something and you end up building it for the client or for the community that you're serving. Some of these examples, of course, are like ADA accessibility ramps. A lot of our chapters do music gardens or K through 12 engagement through the built environment to help further education and more service. And of course, this list is not exhaustive. FBD projects can take shape in many, many different ways, but we thought that we would kind of show you guys and give you a little bit of examples for each one of our three main categories within these projects. And with kind of like this newly revamped scope of FBD and this new perspective, we last year in 2021, the whole FBD manual was revamped and kind of tailored towards this more fluid idea of freedom by design and what this process and perspective is. So essentially, this whole manual is taking the scope of FBD and the FBD process and making it more interactive and helping you guys navigate where and how you can do better for your chapter and how you can move forward in your projects. So as you can see, there's like a little bit of a slideshow of what the manual looks like briefly. And there's also a QR code that takes you straight to an FBD manual download. And you can also find it on the FBD website.
Alrighty, so this is the main portion of this training session. We've created some documents in the past year that we wanted to thoroughly go through with all of you to know how to efficiently use some of these documents if you require them, and in hopes to give you that space and support in order to efficiently move through your projects. So the first thing, and if you've heard me present or went to any fireside chat, you've probably heard me chant document, document, document like at least twice a day. But I'm gonna keep saying it because it's super important, not just for you within your own program to make sure you keep receipts and not just actual budget receipts, but receipts on everything that you do within your chapter and within each project that you've gone through. So it's not just important internally, but also externally. So what it is important internally is so that if you do happen to manage a project that goes over in terms of time, like over the time that you've anticipated and you have to hand it over, it's helpful to have as much information for the next person to reference. But also it's important for us so that there's a level of communication between the national office, between different programs and different quads to understand what different chapters and programs, FBD programs are doing in FBD and in service. Traditionally, the uploading process used to be specific in terms of providing some sort of document or portfolio that shows the project that you're specifically finishing. However, we know that, as we said, the projects may change and grow over time, and it's not as restrictive as it used to be or as simple as it used to be. And we decided that it's easier if we open up and make the process of sharing easier. So there's less stress on you on making a finalized presentation or a pretty presentation for the national office to see or FBDAC to see, but rather use Google Drive that we have between us nationally and internationally to share both finished and unfinished things. So this is a space for all of us to start adding all the stuff that you've been doing in your chapters in any different phase of your projects, and understand and keep track of everything so that it's not something that you always have to do by the end of the year, but it's a continuous thing that you can always rely on throughout your academic year. And when you document, be mindful of the fact, like, just remind yourself that it doesn't have to be a specific type. Like, you can document your notes, your meeting notes, correspondence, images, videos, sketches, drafts, all of these, whatever you would like to share can be put in here. And I'll show you really quickly how it looks, and I'll just go through it. So if you can scan the QR code here, but in the Freedom by Design website, you can scroll down into its own tab, click on it, you'll be directed into the Google Drive. Make sure to, if you haven't used this already, make sure to read the document. We basically go through steps of how to set up your institution or your programs folder and what kind of subfolders we recommend and what kind of subfolders we recommend to add. And we also have a visual example of what that looks like. So if you scroll back, or if you're in the Google folder already, the first thing you'll see is an example chapter folder. What you can do in that chapter folder, which would be renamed to your institution's name or whatever, you can start populating different folders for each project that you've done. So this means you can also add in information from past and completed and successful projects that your chapter has already been doing, maybe current projects or future projects. So this is a place for you to easily access and even copy files if you're already using Google Drive for your own personal needs. And in each project, then you can split things up if you want to make sure you have a final process of documentation as opposed to an unfinished one. And in each one, you can categorize in different file types. And I know I'm sharing this like happily because this is exactly what I do. I just love organizing. But if you're into this, you can make place for images and videos. And the reason why this is super nitpicky is because you have to be mindful of the fact that this is space for everyone. So if we want to make sure everyone can navigate this easily, we have to make it as simple as possible. So in a way, you can really just copy this folder and add it into the quad that you're in and just rename this folder into your institution. So for example, we have ones from Northeastern, and we can go into the project itself and look at, the graphics and start stalking. So in a way, I should go back here. In a way, this is kind of encouraging us as FBD to start practicing mutual aid in a way where we're now able to share resources with one another. So if there's some successful template or sample or contract or forms or what's it called, fundraising forms or anything like that, or different applications that you've done for funding. If you've seen that this is helpful, you can also share this around within this drive and be able to let one another know what's been successful and what's not been successful. So use this as a space to connect with one another, because I know how hard it has been in the past few years to check in. And we hope that this is a way that we can support one another while going through our individual projects and making sure we can guide each other. And again, because it's a space that's open and accessible and collective, we need to make sure it's respected. And it goes without saying, but we don't need to edit. We shouldn't be editing or playing around with things that we haven't uploaded for ourselves in our chapter, not sharing our drive or the files within them outside of AIS or the FBD community. But if it is needed in terms of like connecting with a community partner or anything like that, just make sure to ask an FBDAC member for permission. And again, just make sure it's organized, your files, and they're renamed or have the correct names so that everyone is able, for you and your colleagues, to be able to access them. So yeah, document, because we love seeing this stuff, and it's a great way for us to see the process that everyone's at. And even if you have to send something for NCARB, if you've been accepted and we want to see where the money's going, this is a great way to keep track of everything. So this is my last time, probably virtually, to say it. So document.
All right. Thanks, Mara, for all of that awesome information about the documentation folder. So now we're going to be moving into a different part of the session where we begin to talk about some of our other additional resources. So what's really common with design build projects is you need to be able to understand what you're spending your money on, how long it's going to take. These are all really important parts of actually declaring your project. So we have put together some resources to help you with this application. And we'll go ahead and introduce the first one, which will be the estimating spreadsheet. So I will go ahead and take over. So for your estimating spreadsheet, with the way we broke it down is, so if you have different components within your overall project, let's say you have a larger scale project and you have different types of things that you're building. So like if you're building a garden, you have different types of raised beds, you have different types of storage units. So we call those assemblies. So that way you have your title here where you can put what you want to build. And let's say for material 1, you have your 2x4s, your 2x6s, and any other material you would need to actually construct this. And then what you can do is you put in your number needed. So let's say, okay, I have specified a 2x6 by 12 foot long piece of board, and I need 2 of these. And Obviously, wood does not cost this much anymore. It is actually a lot more, but let's just say it's a good deal and we have wood for $3.98. Then the Excel sheet calculates that for you based on the quantity needed and the cost per unit. So you don't have to do any math. The only math you have to do is just look at your keyboard and type the number you see on the same website. So if you're on Lowe's or Home Depot or anywhere else where you get your supplies from, you can go ahead and put in that cost per unit, and then it'll spit out that total cost. And then over here for your overall total cost per assembly, it will add up every single value within this area. And if this is too many, you can just delete columns, but all or rows. And if you need more, you can just go ahead and add more rows by clicking on the left-hand side of the Excel sheet, right click, insert, and it'll insert the rows. And what you can do is just select the last cell here and get this green rectangle here. It's a square. I'm not good at geometry. I almost failed that class back in the day. So you take this green square and you just drag it all the way down to your new rows. And that will automatically update. So there you have a $0 because there's nothing in the cell there. And go ahead and you'll drag that down and you'll be good to go there. So let's say we have 5 boxes that we need to make. So we can just type in, okay, we don't need 2, we need 5. So now you can quickly see how much more expensive your project gets. You don't have to do it, the math all over again. So this estimating spreadsheet is designed to be able to help you with the least amount of input on your end. So it does all the math for you. You just add more rows if you needed or take them away. And then we have your total project cost up here at the top. So yeah, it's a really simple, very modular estimating spreadsheet, and it is on the AIAS website as well. Are there any questions on this estimating spreadsheet? Feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. It's okay. We'll give it a couple seconds if anyone wants to chat. Type it in there. Ah, I see one. Where can we find it? Yes, you totally can. It is on the Freedom by Design AIAS page. So we will go ahead and drop that link in the meeting here. So if you go down on the Freedom by Design homepage, you'll scroll down and you'll go to the Resources tab. Here you will find additional resources that have been added to the page over the years. Here you will find the sample estimating spreadsheet, the sample project schedule, which we'll go over after this one, and then also a long-awaited AXP hours guide. And I'll also be showing you how to do it through my own NCARB record. So that'll be good for you guys to see as well. But also for anybody who is new to FBD, these are also some of the resources. So we talked about the FBD manual that was produced last year, as well as waivers and release agreements and client agreements, also photo release agreements. So if you're going through all of these resources, it's just saying, oh yeah, it's okay if you can take pictures of me and all that good stuff. So we'll just open this one up just for fun since we're here. So basically say I myself authorize the AIS to take pictures and I am over the age of 18. And if someone's not over 18, they just have their parent or guardian approve. And it's just a liability coverage on our end. So when you are using these, please sure you do document all those as well. Okay.
And again, like you can
No, go ahead.
Upload the estimating spreadsheet and the project schedules as Google Sheets and link them to the upload content. So you have more things to document. Yeah. So these are things that help you at the pre-design level. Maybe I love spreadsheets too. So they're really helpful, especially when you're applying for an NCARB grant. You will require a budget estimate. So this is helpful, especially for folks who don't have the resources or the training in project management yet. So please use these and let us know if there's anything as you test these out. The FBD is there to be able to update anything and offer more resources if you require them.
Yep, cool. Thank you very much, Marwa. Yeah, so we have, when you declare your project, let's see, you have all these different things you need to fill out. So you need to tell us about your project, describe your team, and then you'll be able to apply for chapter grant funding because you are here. So that's the good stuff. All right. And then they'll follow up with you and get your estimate and all that good stuff. So, okay. If there aren't any other estimating spreadsheet questions, ooh, let me open up the chat again. Okay, so we will also be talking about the schedule as well. So we have a example schedule. So for this one, it is also relatively automated as well as the estimating one. This one can be a little more, it requires a little more input on your end to keep it up to date. But most FBD projects don't take 68 construction days. So this is a pretty long template. So let's see, we have a variety of tasks. So when you have an FBD project, you have different phases. It's almost like a real world project, even if it's not a design build. You have to do brainstorming, you have to have planning meetings, you have to do site inspections and all that other good stuff. So breaking down your tasks that you have to do at your FBD program helps you stay on track with what's going on, because it is very easy to be able to just kind of like push things off and all that good stuff. So staying on top of what you need to do with your FBD program to ensure that your project is done on time is really important. So what you have is the way that this file is set up is you have your project start date, which is the minimum value of this entire column. So what that means is, let's say I want this to start on today. So we'll change the date. So we select the cell, we go in, you delete the 6 first, and then you type in July 16th, 2022. And then all of the durations will update. So now you can change these durations. So your start date is inputted by you. And then after that, everything else is automatically generated. So your end date is automatically done based on the duration column here. So that the way the end date works, oh, let me not mess up the formula. It's okay. This is not the master file, the one you download. If I mess anything up, it will be perfect for you guys. So let's say this task 1, we want it to be 3 days instead of 7. It will automatically update and it will be the 3 days. So now you'll be able to have your updated end date and your project duration. And also for our visual folks, if you'd like to see more of the, instead of just numbers and things like that, you want to see a little timeline, we do have a Gantt chart here on the other side. So you can kind of see where you're at as the little blue line trickles its way down into the end of the project. So that's basically this one. Are there questions on this scheduling, not scheduling, estimating template, scheduling template? All righty then, we'll wait and see if any chat come up, but this is also on the FBD website. And so let's see, the last thing I wanted to show you is the Freedom by Design AXP guide. Hold on, I see something pop up. Do you have to put this on the Google Drive? It would be a good rule of thumb to have it on your Google Drive. That way your whole team can access it. And that way we can also kind of see where you're at too. That way we may not have to the way Marwa said it, we can spy on you. So we can check in and see how you guys are doing and see where you're at in your construction phase. So yeah, I would recommend it, but obviously we can't make you do anything, but we can just very, very strongly urge you do it. So please do that. Okay, So for the AXP guide, the very first step you need to do if you want AXP hours for upload past, yes, Adam, I would definitely upload your past project as well. That way everybody can kind of see like an archive of what other chapters have done. So if there's something similar that they are trying to do now that another chapter maybe has done in the past, they can actually see what a successful project may look like, whether it's through organization or the technical aspects of the project as well. So
it also it's helpful for us as well to be able to see what chapters have been able to do that we weren't aware of. Because there's some amazing stuff you guys do and we don't know. So it's helpful not just for that, but because if we ever want to reach out in future, you like on any type of social media platforms, that's the space for us to look into what chapters have done. It's also a great way for, as Tristan said, for other chapters to see what other chapters are doing and maybe perhaps have their own personal contacts with one another so that they can talk in more detail what they went through. Because at least for me, sharing like storytelling is a great way of learning. So if we talk about the processes and the experiences we've had, it helps greatly.
Yeah, and we also love to feature chapters and feature projects that have been going on. So
yeah, I know we talked long, but sorry, not long, like we've been a long answer, but yes. It'd be cool if you can.
yeah, all right, so I will go ahead and restart sharing. I realized I just had it shared, so they just couldn't see the entire time, so good on me.
That's
all right.
Okay.
So for the AXP guide, the very first step is to register your Freedom by Design program with NCARB. So your program must be registered with NCARB as a community-based design center. So I'll show you what that means. That's the wrong tab. Okay. So with Freedom by Design, you need to be able to register your program, because if you don't do it otherwise, you will not be able to do the following. So I'm actually going to show you how to log your hours with Freedom by Design on NCARB. So for your experience and experience reports, so this is the general view of your NCARB record. I am trusting all y'all here. There's not much you can do anyways, besides just get my personal email, which is honestly a vibe. So once you get to your NCARB record, you'll go to experience and experience reports. And it's actually super simple. All you really need to do is go to new AXP experience reports. And we are classified as experience setting O, which is other experiences. We are not a practice of architecture. A practice of architecture is an architectural firm, of which Freedom by Design is not. So we will go to other experiences, and now there's a drop-down tab that pops up, and we are a community-based design center / collaborative, and that will automatically bring us to this lovely page where we can bring in our information. So I'm going to make a fake report and not submit it to a random Freedom by Design chapter. So once you are registered with NCARB as a community-based design center collaborative, you will be able to find your Freedom by Design chapter alongside all of these lovely folks. So I feel like going to UC Boulder or UC Denver. Oh my gosh, I hope no one from UC Boulder is here today. Sorry. UC Denver today. And you will automatically have a supervisor assigned to that community-based design center collaborative, which is really just your chapter. So you will be able to input your average hours per week. I'm putting in 1 because I do nothing at UC Denver. And this is the good stuff. With Freedom by Design, you are able to classify your AXP hours into all 6 categories. You are not limited into which category you can apply for. So you have practice management, project management, programming and analysis, project planning and design, project development and documentation, and construction and evaluation. So what the heck are all these categories, and what does that mean? What can I qualify as those experiences? So all of this is what we went over, except for this part. So in order to get your FBD program approved as a community-based design center, there are a couple things you need to do. You need to email NCARB at axp@ncarb.org with proof showing the AIAS 501c3 status, and you need to be able to show them our 501c3 letter. And also you need to have a relationship with an architect who can exercise direct supervision and serve as a designated AXP supervisor for the organization. So that's a lot of words, but that is verbatim from NCARB's website. So what does that really mean? That means you need to be able to have a person at your school, preferably at your school, because that way, if they're a tenured professor, that'd be really sick because they can be your design mentor. And they can continue to be your design mentor for your FBD program and stay heavily involved. But you can also, for your design mentor, they can just be any registered architect in general. So you can do that as well. But they would just need to acknowledge that they would be the direct supervisor to approve any students who submit AXP hours. So I will show you where the 501c3 letter is. However, I cannot tell you what the password is, just because we need to make sure that is confidential. But if you do need what the password is, just text us and we will get that for you. We can't just say it out here just because, you know, it's a recorded event. So it is, yeah. So if you just go to resource chapter, and you'll go to, so AIS resources, go to chapter, and then we'll be able to go down and find where it is. I cheated because I have a bookmark because I use it a lot. So you'll go to AIS tax ID, nonprofit status, and other forms. You can also just search in tax ID, but I just wanted to show you guys from like the whole beginning, just for the vibes. So we have this form here, and you'll be able to look at all these different forms, and this is your tax ID, but you will need a password. So please reach out to us on Slack if you need this. Let's see, I am looking at your question. Since we need a supervisor from our school to approve hours, we won't be able to practice and earn hours via FBD as an alumni. No, so they don't have to be from your school. I'm just suggesting that they are. That way they're more in touch with what you guys are doing with your program. Your supervisor can be just a registered architect. So if there's a architecture firm in your city or your town, and someone wants to help out, they can still be your supervisor. As an alumni, no, you can still do it. There's nothing on NCARB's website that prohibits alumni from getting AXP hours on this. And there's, yeah, so you're good to go on that. And then can any FBD project, Nessie, did that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Paul, so can any FBD project go towards NCARB hours? No, only design build projects can. NCARB only recognizes design build projects as things that can be qualified for AXP hours. So the service and design engagement project types, unfortunately, cannot be for your AXP NCARB hours. Okay, so I will be going over to show you guys. So we went over all this on how to put in your NCARB hours. And now we'll talk about some of the very basic things that can be qualified as your AXP hours based on your project setting. So we combine practice management and project management here together, and all of these are verbatim from the AXP NCARB guidelines. And there are different bullet points, which I can show you too. But so working with building codes, you will definitely have to do that if you're doing any sort of design build. Preparing proposals to clients, probably one of the most important things you do in the very early on project of your project. Producing a project estimate and schedule. boy, if only you had some resources to go with that, that'd be really cool. Oh, wait, you do. So enjoy all that good stuff. Coordinating design work of team members, progress and progress meetings. So if you're an FBD director or a project manager and you're coordinating people, that can go on there too. Programming and analysis, determining impact of environmental, zoning, and other regulations on the project site, establishing project design goals. So a design charrette, that's something you can totally put on there. Presenting ideas to the client orally and presenting design alternatives for client review. So if there's something that the client doesn't like and you need to find something else, that counts too. So this is really just showing you that pretty much everything you're going to do during your design build project does count, and you can sign off on that for your XP hours. So communicating graphically with hand drawings and also with 2D and 3D software. And construction and evaluation, managing project closeout procedures and documentation. We love documentation. So if you're taking pictures and videos, that counts. So as long as you're documenting, that counts. Complete field reports, document field observations from construction site visit. Is it rainy that day? Is it, what are the site conditions like? Are you able to pour concrete if you're pouring concrete? These types of site conditions that you note are really important for that type of stuff. So all of that is up on the Freedom by Design page. So if you go, what is Freedom by Design, you'll be able to get into all this good resources and all that good stuff. So that will be it for me. And if there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We do have our email, freedom@AIS.org, on there as well. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over to Marwa.
Okay, thank you, Tristan. This is helpful for all the US chapters. Anyways, so yeah, please scan everything. We'll be providing all this information. And again, we try to consolidate as much as we can on the FBD tab. We have thrown so much information that it's now time for us to open up the floor for you. And honestly, this is a space for us to hear from you. Generally, even if you're not involved in FBD, if you want to ask questions about service, this is a space for you. Are you having trouble? Like, do you need time to talk about your projects or what type of projects you're looking for? The space is for you. If you have something you want to talk about management-wise, if you're doing a project right now and you need something specific, the space is for you. If you still have questions about the finance and AXP stuff that we just talked about, feel free to talk about it. I also encourage anyone who's not shy to share what projects they're working on right now. If you want to, this is a great space for us to hear about what you're currently doing, just to get the ball rolling for the upcoming year. So yeah, it's the time.
I will start off. I did realize I missed one question in the chat from Luna. Luna asks, every student has to make the record and submit it to the org. So every person, if you're pursuing licensure as an individual, you will need to establish your own individual NCARB record. But there is only one FBD charity design build program that you need to establish with NCARB. Only have one person do that. That will ideally be your Freedom Design Director, who will take care of that. But as an individual, every person needs to make a NCARB record.
Okay, Hallie, is there a specific date this school year that we need to submit our project proposals for grant funding? So we recommend that right when you know you're gonna have a project to do, declare it. What we're doing right now is opening up the NCARB grant so that it runs all year. So you're just uploading or submitting your applications for NCARB through the link that we have on the website, and NCARB and the national office will review your application. But before you do that, declare your project and let us know, like under the last question, that you are interested in that, plus the fact that you've attended either this one or the next one of the training sessions that we have. But there's no specific date. Right when you know you're going to have a project, even if you're not sure if it's going to be done, just declare it. It's good for us to also, again, keep track of what type of projects have been in the works, nationally and internationally.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Luna, it is the most updated link. Please, the title is, it's okay. The as long as it says apply now, you are still good to apply. So it's just a rolling application. So you're still good. Yeah.
I know one thing I want to mention, I know we mentioned documentation and stuff, but in all honesty, documentation takes time and effort. And it shouldn't be all on one person, if that makes sense. At least from my personal experiences, I found that directing as a director, if you are a new director or an existing director, I found that it's easier to be able to break down those tasks to specific people. So if you want to make sure one person always keeps tracks of the notes, one specific person keeps tracks of the images and all the visual aspects, and another person focuses on the finances and everything like that, it helps everyone carry the load and share the load at the same time, rather than end up being ending up as the one person who does it all. Because I've been there, done that, and I know other people during fireside chats who've mentioned that. So just make sure as you start off and build the foundations of your chapter, or reconnect with the existing chapters that you're in, that you establish boundaries for everyone and capacities for everyone, because you're still a student at the end of the day. So make sure that the amount of work that you have for you and everyone else is appropriate and realistic.
All right, Liam. So Liam asks, any suggestions on how to get people involved and convince them they have time outside of studio, and or find ways to create crossover between school and the FBD project? Biggest piece of advice is begin with smaller projects first. That way it's a lot easier for people to spend the time on what FBD is doing. That way, when it comes time to doing a bigger project, they're a little more likely to be able to stick it out. Because I know there has been times where it's like, oh yeah, we want to do this like big design build project, and then you have a big team and then it just falls off and it stops. It happens, burnout's real. But it's, yeah, so small incremental things are fantastic confidence builders for not only the people, but the FBD program. And finding ways to create crossover between school and the FBD project. If you have any classes that are construction based, that have a emphasis on construction, whether it's how buildings go together, or you're actually learning physically how to actually put building assemblies together, that's a great way to have some crossover. So it's like, okay, if you want to come help out on an FBD project and do X tasks for class, talk to the professor, see if they can get some little bonus or something to go help out. Faculty should be your friend, and so if it doesn't hurt to reach out to them. But I would definitely start with your more technical classes about that are related to construction and things like that.
I would 100% agree with Tristan on everything that he said, as well as kind of like adding a little bit more insight on kind of starting smaller. Starting with service projects really brings kind of the initial emphasis on what FBD does for the community to the school. A lot of times FBD is kind of looked at as just, we only do design build and we only do one big project. We only do kind of something that is physical. But a lot of times what we have been trying to emphasize is doing small service days, doing cleanup days, and doing, just service to your community around you is just as important as building something physical. Um, so that is a really great start. Um, and of course, it kind of brings people into the FBD scene and also helps you cross over with school as well. You can invite faculty, invite people in the community, invite architects to come and serve the community with you, and thus kind of helping bring more like-minded people together to help you in the future.
One other thing, and we mentioned this in the manual, that little fluid thingy, that's not supposed to be a set thing that everyone uses. It's more so a template so that you can build out what the FBD process looks like for you and your chapter, because you know your city and your communities best. So try to get people involved within your school to realize what type of barriers exist within your city, or what's the most what's the priority here as designers for us to address within urban planning or design or construction, and start getting people involved in that mindset. Like, what is it that we can help and provide from the privileges and the knowledge that we've gained through our education, and co-create and co-design with our community. So once you start to address those specific circumstances or solutions that you can do in your neighborhood, you can start to target and find the people that you need to connect to, especially as community partners or organizations outside of school that maybe already have these initiatives. They just require more people and more support. And that's another way to put yourself out there, is to already join existing actions, direct actions, or design engagements, or services that the community already run. It's also a great position for us to uplift the community as they're already doing the work. So for us as students, we can bring what we know and help elevate or strengthen whatever the organizations around you are doing. So when you start getting people involved, tell them like, hey, there's this great thing that this organization around me is doing, community fridges all around, or hey, they're doing lunches for all these families or whatever. Let's put ourselves there. Let's test this out. You get people to start to realize what service looks like. And it doesn't require that much commitment because it's not us planning it, you're doing. And then once you get comfortable, you can actually start to plan things around and manage things around. But best thing for me is work with community. It doesn't have to be for. That should be the way we go anyways. As architects and as designers, we should be working with people instead of doing this weird hierarchical division. And that could be also, again, with your school, if you have other faculties, like for us, fashion design and interior design, we all can make blankets together and donate them to folks in shelters. Stuff like that can help. I know, at least for the Northeast, there's a bunch of universities close to one another. So some chapters actually worked with one another to facilitate a project or support another project that's around you from another FBD chapter. So you have a lot of options. It's more so picking what fits you.
Cool. I do just want to say Leadership Day is not done. We have other sessions coming up after this 1 hour break. So come back at around, we'll go off Eastern time. So from 2 to 3 p.m., we will be having the relearning finance session, which will be a little similar to this one, but it's just a lot more encompassing. So like from a chapter leader perspective, how do you do all the scholarships and sponsorships and things like that? So they go into a little bit more detail. They do mention some free by design stuff. And we also have another concurrent session. It's called Realigned, the New Alliance. I swear it's not a boy band, and I swear it's not an Avengers sequel. It's actually a session that I am doing with South Quad Director Jesse Hart. So we'll be talking about the Alliance and all 6 organizations that are part of the Architectural Alliance. So please feel free to come to those from 2 to 3 p.m. And we would be so gracious to have you all there. And then after that, there's another break. However, we come back, it's only a 15-minute break, and we go right into the Rebuilding Culture, Learning Teacher Cultural Policy session, and also the Reviving Membership session. So please feel free to attend those and check your email for all the Zoom links for those. And if you have any other questions, feel free to message me on Slack. I am in every single quad Slack. So if you don't have access to anything, just let me know and we'll get you going.
Yeah, and if you have any more questions about freedom by design or any other concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. The FBDAC is here to serve you and to help you in any way that we can. So there's a QR code for the FBD homepage, as well as our email, Instagram handle, our Slack, which is in every single one of your quad Slack. And of course, reach out to your FBDAC members and quad liaisons, and come see us at pod calls and fireside chats.
If you're not on Slack, let someone know. Directors should be in their quads. And that's a space, at least for you and your Freedom by Design colleagues, to be in the same space and know when fireside chats are happening or pod calls are happening. So make sure that's on your list, especially during Grassroots. And one last thing, if you're passionate about advising or doing things for Freedom by Design, Freedom by Design Advisory Committee for the next coming years going to be open for folks to apply to for roles. So if you're interested, keep an eye out, because you'll have a bunch of committees happening and looking for folks to be a part of. So
Yeah, and speaking of Grassroots, if you guys are going to Grassroots, all 3 of us will be there. So we can't wait to meet you all and to talk to each and every one of you if we can.
So thank you so much for listening in. I hope it was helpful, and can't wait to see more of you soon. Bye.